You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
On this motherfucking plane. Now we got drinks. Oh, they free.
It all sounds like some bad movie.
All right there, sir. Get over here.
Hi, everybody.
What's happening?
You like fires?
Yeah.
Welcome to Moviesucktastic, everybody. We're into the third Oscar review of 2022 for the year 2021.
Yeah.
And this episode, we're reviewing Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley, the Guillermo del Toro film.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting in watching this movie. I was talking to Mare about it, and she goes, "Well, what's it about?" And then I said, "Well, it seems like it's like it starts off like in the carnival setting, and then it kind of moves to another area of that, like Bradley Cooper's character and Rooney Mara. They kind of go off on their own, but knowing Guillermo del Toro." And she was like, "Oh, it's not like a monster movie." I go, "You know what? Guillermo del Toro's movies always have monsters in them." I told her, I go, "It's either people or it's actual monsters. Who are the monsters?"
Right.
So this is another example of that. This film, there are monsters in this movie, but they're people. They're just people.
To put it another way, I try, especially with Shape of Water, I've
Right.
tried to explain to people who aren't into the films or don't understand them or don't get them that he's making are adult fairy tales.
Yeah.
You go all the way back to The Devil's Backbone.
Oh yeah.
You know, even most of his films are just that.
Even
They're
Kronos.
fantasy.
Even Kronos.
Kronos to a lesser extent, but yeah, but it is, and I mean his American debut, Nest, is not Nest. That's a different
Mimic.
insect film. Mimic is probably one of the the least that fall into that category.
Sure.
But I actually had a couple people I talked to who saw the film, and they said that they were disappointed because they expected more of that, the
Supernatural.
hand eyes and wacky shit from Pan's Labyrinth, because that seems to be the film that everybody remembers him for. Like the current crowd, whenever you mention Guillermo, they go, "Oh yeah, Pan's Labyrinth." It's like, yeah, I was watching his shit back.
back in the
back in
the 90s.
Back when it wasn't in English. So.
Well, true. And as much as I really enjoy Pan's Labyrinth, I
hate the ending.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a bad ending. I'm saying I don't like it. It bothers me. It's just I don't need to feel like that. Thank you. Not what I signed up for.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro has something with the eye. Just from watching this movie, it's like there's a scene in this movie where it's like, yeah, he kind of digs the eye thing.
Well, it's a central theme of this film because the basic story is, and this is an adaptation of a 1948 novel.
Right, and they made a movie too, right?
In 1947, they did an adaptation of it.
Yeah.
I have not. Does that make sense? No. It didn't come out in 48 then. It came out soon. I know the film is from 47, so the book came out before 47.
Okay.
So I must have that date
Well,
wrong.
this movie takes place in 1941 or during that time period.
Yes. So it was written in the early 40s. I just got the number a bit off. But the movie I just saw recently, not the film, but the date was 47. That's enough babbling for that. But you can really feel that it was written in that time period, and he's taken the dialogue out of it. It just feels natural, coming from someone who likes to read books from that era. But the basic plot is just that not getting into the beginning and the origin and everything, but it's about a con man who gets in too deep. I mean, that's really a one sentence description.
Pretty much.
Oh, and by the way, remember when we were bitching about the last two films we reviewed?
You're a little close to your mic.
Oh, sorry. So, new mic.
Go ahead. We were bitching about yes.
No. Remember we were bitching about Drive My Car?
Well, I was, but yes.
Well, no, specifically that 40-minute opening is like, why do you have to go through all this backstory?
Yeah.
So Guillermo del Toro just gave a masterclass on how to do that.
Yeah.
And he did exactly what I said they should have done. So that whenever he mentions this, dude, have some quick shots. Guillermo told that whole backstory with like 5 flashbacks that lasted no more than a few seconds.
Oh, I know. I listen, and the thing is too, as much as I enjoyed the opening of this film, I think the second half of this movie is where it really gets better.
I mean, I went into the film blind, as I like to do.
I did too. I knew nothing other than the fact that it was like a carnival setting of some kind.
Yeah. Now, obviously, right now, if you're listening or watching, spoilers, duh. So just don't need to express. I'm not saying it again. 15, 20 minutes into the film, I was under the impression that the whole film was going to take place with this circus.
Me too. I was like, okay, this and I'm like, I started looking into it more, like the whole electric chair thing for her. I'm like, oh, is this foreshadowing? Like, is like something crazy going to happen with this? Is like she's going to have an untimely death? It's going to be gruesome. And I mean, things just happen differently, but not in a disappointing way. So, but you're right. I was like, oh man, this is probably going to be here. This is probably going to be here the whole time, and that's not what happens. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah. But there's an underlying theme all throughout it about punishment, guilt, redemption, or lack thereof. The electric chair that comes into play. It's an image of that as well. A lot of imagery. Enoch, all that shit. It's just it's. But
who's on the screen right now? We have a knack, or at least you do, for saying something and then the slide is right there.
I'm Physic.
Is that right? Mentalist.
That's right. He's back on the sauce. Oh, sweet gin. So I loved this film.
This movie's I really liked this movie. I'm speechless. Go ahead. Well, you know what? What's interesting too, Guillermo del Toro, not that long ago, he did a movie called Crimson Tide,
which I have not. Crimson Peak.
Oh, Crimson
Tide is the submarine.
That's the one with Denzel Washington. Crimson. Yes, you're right.
All right. Now I want Guillermo del Toro to make a submarine film.
Crimson Peak, and that movie. It's also a period piece. It got reviewed well, but it didn't get the notoriety that his movies, like when he was doing Shape of Water and this, it didn't get the real attention and or the audience that it probably deserved. Had that movie come out after Shape of Water, it probably would have got noticed a little bit more. But it's different, same type or style of film, where it's not like jump out at you. It's like not a lot of fast moving action. It's a lot of character development, a lot of story arc. A lot of like really beautiful scenes. That movie is very similar in the way this is done.
And some great dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
You know that German guy that looks like Chaplin. He's starting a war. That guy's got some balls.
I know. Oh my God, looks like Chaplin.
I mean,
And then Ron
he's-
Perlman's in this. He had a few good lines too.
Ron Perlman. One of my favorite shots is Ron Perlman when they visit later at the hotel room, just sitting back with the cigar and the chicken. I was like, that's Ron Perlman. He's not acting. I mean, I saw Ron Perlman. It's like, of course, Ron Perlman's in it. He's been like in like every other
Guillermo
other
del Toro film.
and
Yeah.
also he also played a strongman in a circus in City of Lost Children.
That's right. Which is Junot. Was that the director for that?
I forget his name. It's a French name. Yeah,
Really
something
French.
Like that.
He also
Look it up.
directed Delicatessen and then the horrible Catwoman, I think. And there's
did
Ron
Delicatessen.
Perlman with a cigar and a chicken wing or a drumstick, right up on the slideshow.
So, all right. So, can I ask you?
Yeah.
How far in did you know how it was going to end?
I would say when he stole the book, or when he was asking to be taught by Pete, like all the stuff, and I'm like, and then Pete did that whole thing about don't do the spook show, and I'm like, he's totally gonna do the spook show, and it's not gonna end well. I knew as soon as he started getting involved with Pete and wanting to learn that stuff, and then Pete ends up dead, I'm like, oh yeah. At that point, I was like, shit's gonna go south, and this is probably how it's gonna end. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not see Bradley Cooper coming out of this unscathed. I actually thought we're spoiling this, right? Spoilers.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
we're
I actually thought that Bradley Cooper was not going to live, but I think the way the movie ends, he probably is better off dead.
Yeah. Now, I'm not bragging, but I'm pretty sure I had the film figured out when he first gets to the circus and it goes to the geek show.
Oh, you were predicting
The very end.
like the very end.
Yeah. Just knowing Guillermo, when they went, like the way they were framing the geek show and how long they dwelt on it, they don't dwell on any other act as long as they do on the geek show.
Yeah.
Other than obviously the mesmerism that comes into play.
I want to say that I didn't really predict. Oh man, that's a good shot. That's a shot of what's his face, with his face like punched in.
The
Yeah.
rich asshole.
Yeah. No, I want to say that I envisioned a horrible ending for Bradley Cooper's character.
Mm-hmm.
The geek wasn't one of them that I really thought of.
Really?
I really didn't think that. So
I kind of suspected, and then when they got to the part where when the owner of the circus is telling him how they get the geek guy to do the geek show,
right.
I was like, oh yeah, this is obviously where he's ending up. But again, at this point, I thought the whole thing was going to be with him at the circus, and I thought something was going to happen. And there's books like this. I mean, just off the top of my head, Joe R. Lansdale wrote a book called Freezer Burn. Takes place in I think in the 80s or something like that, but very similar concept.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of books from this time period really focused on the grifters, the con men, and homeless people traveling in the circus and stuff. That was all, and a lot of these people writing this stuff actually were involved in those things too.
Yeah,
so they really reveal a lot in them.
Well, you know what's interesting? I mean, I knew that he was going to end up going to the drink because he just kept denying it, and there's things in the movie that kind of lead up to it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought that, because they talk about how you get someone to become a geek,
right.
And it's Willem Dafoe's character. He basically tells him, you find a homeless alcoholic, under bridges and tunnels and out in the weather and all kinds of things, and then you slowly bring them in because he spikes the alcohol with drugs and they get addicted, blah, blah, all that stuff. And I was like, well, Bradley Cooper's character just keeps denying the alcohol anytime it's offered to him. I never drink the stuff. I don't do that. And it was one of those things where I never thought he would even allow it to happen because he knows how, Willem Dafoe told him how you do it. Mm-hmm. So, but when he walks in the room, and I was like, I knew when he walked in the room that's what was going to happen.
Well, at that point, my prediction was that he was going to be with the circus the whole time, but much like some of the other stories of a similar fashion. I mean, you had Ron Perlman, everybody threatening him and saying, you don't hurt that girl. So my thought was that in the third act of the film, he would do something to the girl, and then much like in the film's Freaks, the carnival people would retaliate against him and turn him into a geek as punishment. That's what I thought. Again,
okay.
I was wrong to an extent, but the basic concept was there. But again, it's because you know how Guillermo does his films.
Of course.
There's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of theology or psychology involved. He's huge in all of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of inspiring stuff in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if people watching it that aren't aware that it's adapted from a book from the 40s would even think of it. They just like, oh, somebody just wrote a cool noir film.
Yeah,
and
not only is it adapted from the 40s, I actually pulled up the plot line from that movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like Stanton Carlisle, the name is the same. Pete, who teaches him, I mean, that's the same. So Xena, that's named the same. So Guillermo is true to the source material, which I kind of knew he would be. Mm-hmm. But it's you're right. People just wouldn't even think twice about it.
And that's because his style really just makes it into his own story. I mean, but again, just that opening where, okay, he burned the house. Now he's walking away. Now he's on a bus. Oh, look, it's nighttime. He's a different town. And hey, look, there's a circus. Fucking minutes.
Not even.
We don't have to do a whole first act explaining his childhood, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Listen to me drive my car. This is where you went wrong. This is why you're not at the top of my list. So, but I mean, just when he chases the geek into the House of Damnation.
Oh,
it wasn't actually called Damnation.
No, it wasn't.
Right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Like sins. I got a screenshot in there somewhere of it.
Yeah,
and it's all about sins and repent, and I mean, and part of that was a lot of the times these shows, and it was bled into film too. In order to get around the censors in towns and stuff, like so you do a horror house, but then you say, oh no, but this is an instruction on how to follow God. This is showing the evil ways. It's instructional. It's educational.
Right.
So that was common back then too. All this stuff really rings true. And so it's like the metaphor is not stretched too far because all this stuff is always there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You know what's interesting too? When, like you were saying, like you thought that the film was going to take place entirely in this carnival setting. Mm-hmm. Had it stayed entirely in the carnival setting, I wouldn't have minded either. I wouldn't have minded had it not branched out into something else. But I'm glad it did because I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And then when he starts preying on... I mean, because it's all... I mean, he's warned in advance by Pete, and then... But then, I mean... The film kind of plays with the audience on. They don't actually like show you that he killed Pete, but they kind of show you that he did, but they don't actually show it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they don't. And I even like that. Like he just goes and he shows back up with the bottle, or they show him put the money in, but they don't show him pick the wrong bottle out of the box.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The wood.
So they
the
leave
wood
that
alcohol.
kind of doubt in your name. There's the doubt in your mind, and I think the biggest point to the whole con artist thing, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, is that he thinks he gets this idea that he can read people, which he can to an extent, but what he doesn't understand, what he doesn't realize is that reading people isn't the same as understanding them. True,
and that's mainly because of his upbringing, the shit that he had to deal with his father. How he grew up as a man is like it's all like psychological and analytical in a lot of ways.
Well, and even as the psychologist tells him at the end, he's like, you don't trick people. The people trick themselves.
Yeah.
You're telling them what they want to hear. So, you thought all the power was on your end. You're really just, and she proved that he was doing it to himself too. I mean, there's a whole psychological game going on.
And Pete warns him of that earlier in the film. He says, if you do this, the reason I stopped this act, and he ended up becoming an alcoholic, is because you can't tell anymore from the truth and the lies. Like you believe the lies, and it is the truth. So Pete warned him well in advance about it, and he did it anyway because he couldn't help himself.
And the Stanton character is a typical tragic, not really, like, not even anti-hero, but it's like the tragic character of that kind of noir novel where they're bums and everything they do is wrong, and it all comes back to them at the end. There's no happy ending. You know it from the beginning. You start reading the book. This guy's not going to end well. We're here to watch it fall.
Yeah, I mean, even Willem Dafoe, he tells him at one point, he goes, "Listen, nobody cares what you've done in a place like this." Because he came to town, and he's like, "You need work," and it's like nobody cares what you've done before here. They just do not. So.
Yeah, but also, so with his background too, I mean, as is always the case when you have a movie that takes place in a carnival kind of atmosphere, it's shown as like a family. They have connections and they care for each other and they watch each other's backs and stuff. So it's another layer there where the Stanton character just can't bring himself to become part of a family. He's rejected families because he rejected his father.
Right.
And
loved and hated him, but hated him more.
And he rejected his father, who was a preacher, because he believed his father was lying, and then he ends up doing the exact same thing he hated his father for. Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, and we could do this all night.
We can.
There are so many things that are balanced back and forth.
Movie has a lot of layers. I mean, this is a film that I wouldn't mind revisiting another time, or just bringing up again in another longer style of show. Not when we're trying to keep these to 30 minutes. Well,
I mean, just look at how, like, Enoch, right? The fuck does Enoch have to do with anything? But it's objective correlative, perhaps. It stands for something throughout the film, even though it has no actual weight to the plot itself.
Right.
It's just representative of something. And like at the end where he goes in and Enoch's there with his old radio, it's like, oh, dude, like, you have nothing anymore.
Yeah, I bought Enoch and the radio. Like,
I forgot about the radio. Although, honestly, up until he called it a radio, I thought he was carrying around a little canstanina. I thought he was going to play accordion at one point. So I was disappointed in that too. I'm looking up tarot cards while I'm watching this film. That's how much I know that Guillermo del Toro does things on purpose.
Yeah, well, of course.
So when he goes
I'm afraid of.
house,
I don't want tarot cards. I'm afraid of that shit.
By the way, great, another film where I got to see some guy's dick. Thank you very much, Brad.
Wow. Okay. What are you gonna do?
During the bath sequence, when he first meets the bathhouse lady, I forget her character's name. She's also does tarot cards because her husband's Pete, the mesmerist. When he walks over to go into the bath, she flips the final card over that she was laying, and it's card 17, the star, but it was upside down. So I had to look that up. I did, and it was obviously there on purpose. It was about like a coming relationship, something like that nature, lovers attracting. Right. So it was like her putting the eye on Brad. Yeah. And the hangman thing, I am pissed I didn't catch this when it came. Did you notice the reference to the hangman in the third act?
Yes, I did.
And what was it?
Well, are you talking about just the mention of the card, the hangman?
No, later in the third act when it call back to it.
Oh,
I didn't catch it. I read it somewhere afterwards, and I was pissed.
I don't.
No,
I don't think. No, I didn't.
After everything goes down. Oh yeah, and you mentioned that the dead guy, the guy he kills, he punches the fucking death. Guillermo's not holding back.
No.
Holy shit!
And Guillermo likes that actor. because he was in Shape of Water.
Oh yeah, at least a couple of times I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh, he's picking his teeth out of his hand later.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, wow, fuck. It's kind of like Michael Shannon in Shape of Water when he rips his own 2 fingers off. It's like when he does that in that movie, because, they tried to sew them back on and it doesn't take. When that scene happens in Shape of Water where he rips his 2 fingers off, and I'm like, oh, whoa, god damn.
His adult fairy tales, much like the adult real world, is steeped in violence. Just like
much.
Real original fairy tales for kids were.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that in him, and he does it just right.
So you were saying the hangman in the third act.
Oh yeah. So when after everything goes down and the psychologist tricks him, and man, there's a fucking scene.
Oh, I know.
And just her character, just so and this is again typical of like noir detective novels or crime novels of that time period.
Yeah.
Tough as nails woman usually always beats these fucking guys down because they never suspect the woman. And like the woman is just like rung through life. When she shows that scar down her body.
Oh, right.
We don't need a 40-minute opening to explain what happened to her. Just what happened to you? Life happened to me.
Yeah. I'll
you don't
live.
need to know anything else. But when she double crosses him and he didn't see it coming, and it just the lack of power he has over her, when he's strangling her with her telephone cord, she laughs at him. He says, "You always took my breath away." It's like, "Oh, you're taking my breath away."
It's like, "Are you trying?" I think she said, "Are you trying to take my breath away?" or something like that. Yeah.
And laughing while he's strangling her is like, yeah, she don't care.
No.
And she knows the they're gonna come in time. I think, and even if they don't, though, she doesn't care.
No.
She knows she got the last laugh. Yeah. But after all that, when he escapes into the train yard, climbs into the train with the chickens, and they purposely. I mean, obviously they purposely did it, but if you watch the film, chickens keep popping up all over the place just to remind you that the geek in the background.
Right.
Because they don't bring the geek up anymore, but the chicken keeps coming up. So, but then when he hides behind the chicken crates and the train leaves, there's that one shot overhead of him laying down behind the chicken crates. I remember thinking to myself, there's something important about the way this is staged, but I can't think of it. And then later I read, oh yeah, when he's in the train car with the chickens, that's a representation of the hangman, the way it looked when he drew it. It's like, motherfucker. Damn it, I knew it, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. Yeah. Oh. See, I'll admit when I'll admit when I get fooled by a film. People always lie. Oh, I saw that coming. No, that caught me. I mean, it's a brilliant film. He adapted. I
don't know if there's some sort of a record, or if it's like the first time it's ever happened, but and I haven't seen all of the Best Pictures, but have you noticed that Bradley Cooper is in 2 Best Picture films? Mm-hmm. This and Licorice Pizza, and then Cate Blanchett is in 2 Best Picture films, this and Don't Look Up, and Timothy Chalamet is in 2 Best Picture films, Don't Look Up and Dune. Like,
well, it just shows you how shallow the voting pool is for this, and people, and like the whole white gold thing. Oh, we haven't had representation in other categories.
That's not where I'm going with this. That's not where I was going with it. I was just
but I'm saying, are you surprised that because that's why you get the same 10 or 12 people in every fucking movie. Channing Tatum's in another fucking film. Why? How come I got to see these people in every fucking movie? All of a sudden, I got to see just everybody. It's like, oh, now he's in every fucking film. Maybe it didn't bother me as a kid, but now it's just like annoying.
Well,
like, one thing. I'm sorry, I did cut you off though. Finish your thought.
No. I was just pointing out that there are multiple actors in multiple Best Picture films this year, and I've never seen so many multiple Best Pictures with the same actors in it. I've seen it; it's happened before, 1 or 2 here, but not like 4 or 5 people. It's happening. It's
an incestuous industry. They're going to keep going back to the same people. It's not a real. If this was a. Anyway. What was I just gonna fucking say? Oscar, him. Oh yeah, like now Bradley Cooper, I thought did a great job. No
Yes.
argument.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could I picture somebody else besides Bradley Cooper doing this role?
I think
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm tired of hearing from everybody, oh, yeah, Leonardo was up for that role. Leonardo is up for every fucking role. He's like the first person they go to.
Pretty much.
And he didn't take the job because he wanted more money.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I guess Guillermo couldn't afford his budget.
Oh, how much did this cost?
Oh, I have no idea. You're the numbers guy. I don't care.
I'm going to find out. Let's see. Not a lot. 35 million. I'm sorry. 60 million. 60 million. It made 35 million.
I mean, it's a star-studded cast. Every actor is a name. Every actor is somebody you recognize.
Everybody. Even the henchman Anderson is.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah. And oh man.
You know the first thing I ever saw him in ever?
What?
Creepshow 2. He played the Indian, the guy with the long hair that was going to go to Hollywood. It was the scene with Anderson. Yeah. So he was in Creepshow 2. He was in the
one that got hit by the car.
Yes, he was in the skit. He was in the story with the
He played the wooden Indian.
Well, he didn't play the wooden Indian, but he was in that one. He played he played an Indian in Creepshow 2. He had the long hair, black hair, and he kept talking about how he's going to go to Hollywood and it's going to make him famous before he kills 2 old people.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I mean, I remember the story. I don't remember him in it.
Yeah, look.
Creepshow 2 was a very underwhelming film for me, so I haven't really revisited it much.
I like Creepshow 2. For what it's worth,
bad.
I like it.
It's not bad, and it was based on actual Stephen King short stories that I recognized. The Raft, I remember reading that in his
sure.
books. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just after the first one, it just didn't live up to expectations for me.
Well, yeah, very hard.
Just haven't,
But that's the first thing I ever saw him in, and I didn't realize it was him until a few years later when I saw him in something else. And I was like, and I looked him up, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I
think of the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah, that's the first thing I ever saw him in. I didn't realize it was him till a few years later, which was interesting. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good performance, but I don't know if it's best Oscar. You mean
Best Picture?
Best Picture. No, best actor. Sorry, I meant best actor.
Is Bradley Cooper up for Best Actor?
I thought you said he was. That's why I was asking.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then good. Then I'm not going to complain. So, what are we looking at for what Oscars is it up for? Where's my?
All right, so it's up for Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design.
Oh, you're going too fast. Okay, costume design.
Period piece, making it look like the 40s, gumshoe, style clothes, things like that.
If there's a Queen Victoria thing in there, they'll lose. But other than that, it's a good showing.
Yeah. Best Achievement in Production Design.
No idea.
And Best Picture, where Bradley Cooper is one of the producers. So if it were to win Best Picture, which it won't, but if it did, he gets a statue.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a film of this nature winning Best Picture. I'm glad it got nominated because it is a good film.
Yeah.
And I actually like it more than Pan's Labyrinth because of the fucking ending. Don't do that. There's no reason for it. Sorry. Don't make me care that much for a character and just fuck him at the end. Seriously. What's up with that?
Fuck you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any final thoughts on the movie. I mean, everything from the opening, it's just they lead. Guillermo knows how to leave mystery and build tension. I also love that everything was realistic. I mean, even that electric act, that's an actual thing. Slimenstra from Guar, she did that on the road for a while.
Did she really?
Yeah, it's an actual thing, because it's just current going through you. You can actually survive a lot more than that, and people get, it's a thing. So I can't think of anything I saw in that movie that was like, no, they didn't have that back then. You know,
All right.
and the midget. Thankfully, we have a midget that wasn't fucking Dinklage.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get him, but the budget just would have.
Hey, Peter. Why don't you give some other midgets a chance? You fuck.
I think you want to say little people.
What? No, I don't. No, the midgets. That's the technical term. That's the clinical term. That's it. If I'm talking to a midget and they ask me not to use the word, I won't. I'm not a dick. But I mean, there's a legal.
Oh, here's a shot of the spider lady. It's just like.
Who is Defoe's wife?
In the movie, no, his real wife.
The actress, Willem Dafoe's wife.
Oh, that's funny. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I didn't listen to my parents and I ended up this way.
And again, they get away with showing horrifying stuff by making sure that it's presented as an instructional,
Right.
something good for society. We actually saw something similar to that when Doug and I went to the Meadowlands Carnival.
Oh, really?
Something with the head sticking out. Yeah, I forget now. There was a headless person somewhere, and I remember like just... Yeah, I know how this is done. And I was like, I shouldn't be proud of that. I do also just love... I think this one doorway from childhood to adulthood is when you look at a circus and you stop seeing the light bulbs and the clowns and everything, and you start seeing the carnies.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
when you start seeing the darkness behind the glitzy facade, and he's like, oh yeah, no, this is not a good place to be. You'll hear stories of, I ran away to join a circus, and it's like, yeah, that's what happened. Now I'm fighting chicken heads. There's a horror film about a geek, Luther the Geek. It came out in the 80s. I believe it's available.
Oh, really?
I have it on my Plex. I have not
to
watched
check it out. You know, it's interesting. I'm kind of looking at the plot for the original Nightmare Alley film from 1947, and I'm just looking at how the movie ends, and even the line "Mister, I was made for it" is in the original film.
That's not the original. That's not the line. They changed it in the original, in the 47 film.
What was it in the 40s?
In the book and in Guillermo del Toro's film, he says, "I was born for the part." In the 1947 film, he said, "I was made."
I was made for it. Okay.
And there's as far as I know, there's no explanation for why they felt the need to change that one word for that film. No, I don't know.
Well, I'm wondering, okay, so since you said that, saying that Bradley Cooper was born for it means that his existence was always going to end up this way, no matter what he did.
His life. He fed himself into self-fulfilling prophecy,
Right.
which I hate that fucking term now with a fucking passion, so I don't want to use it. But I mean, he finally saw everything that like the psychologist saw in his past when she was grilling him, because she knew what was going on there. She was actually reading him, where he was just tricking people into thinking he was reading him.
Right.
I mean, that's the importance of that whole thing. But how did I get off on that tangent?
Well, I was talking about the original plot, like even the ending. So
it's just him finally. The whole thing, he came through. He realizes that everything he did wrong and everything, and he's come through the redemption thing. At least he understands that this is why he belongs here. He knows he's a bad person.
Yeah.
He's always said that before. But he created his own hell, which is also symbolized by the flames in the house in the opening shot.
yeah, I want to seek out the 1947 film. I want to watch it now.
Oh, I'm sure it's available now. This film's got so much lip service,
Sure
even though
it
it
is.
didn't do that well in the theaters.
But it says here, because of Stanton, he says, with nowhere else to go, Stanton tries to get a job at a carnival, only to suffer the ultimate degradation. The only job he can get is playing the geek, eating live chickens in a sideshow. So it's interesting that, and I can only assume that earlier in that same film they show the geek eating chickens, things like that. But
I mean, they may not have actually shown it as Guillermo did.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. I'm not like this. This isn't me.
Yeah. But I mean, again, there's religious themes throughout the film about. I mean, not only about his father and a preacher, but then just the concept of not doing harm. I mean, there's a lot going on in the film. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and give it a score then.
Oh, I got to look at yeah.
So it's currently on IMDb. I mean, it's currently low, I think, 7.2.
Oh, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's a 7.2 on IMDb. Considering that Drive My Car is like an 8.1 or 7.9 on IMDb, it's like, come on, give me a break.
Let me say this. The films reviewed so far, Drive My Car and Power of the Dog, I felt both of them were good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them both. Not debating that now. But at the same time, they both had flaws that prevented them from being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Just things that I felt they should have done differently. I can't point to anything in Nightmare Alley where I feel like it should have been done differently.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. No. I mean, it's like you were saying before about Drive My Car, spending so much time in the first 40 minutes. And what does Guillermo do? You said it. He gave you everything you needed and didn't, this didn't make this a 3-hour movie doing it.
Yeah. A 2.5.
2.5, but it didn't feel like a 2.5-hour movie.
It kind of doesn't. I
can't
say I was at. Yeah,
its pacing is really well done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you suggesting a 10?
No, I'm not.
Because that to me, I mean,
because I don't think the film is brilliant. I don't think the film is like important or brilliant. I think it's very good and I love it. It's a personal favorite. But did this change cinema? Is this like something that everyone will remember? Like, no, it's not. No. This isn't groundbreaking. It's just an awesome film.
Yeah. So what are you suggesting?
You can't just hand out the 10s.
No, we never. I think we've handed out a 10 3 times or twice.
Nightcrawler.
Fucking love that movie.
So yeah, 7.2. I'm okay with going to 8 on this one.
I agree. I think this is a solid 8. As a matter of fact, when I was watching it today, I was like, this is a solid 8. That was like the first number that came to me when I was thinking about what I was gonna score it. Solid 8.
It's in.
The fact that it's a 7.2 is a little disappointing.
Yeah, you know what? Again, 2 people I talked to said they were disappointed in the film because they expected it to be more fantasy. So I can understand why the rating's a bit lower because Guillermo del Toro has set an expectation with Pan's Labyrinth, and the general audience are fickle and short-sighted.
But here's the thing. I mean, Shape of Water was just only slightly more, fantasy than this movie.
She fucked a fish man.
It had a fish guy in it.
She fucked a fish man.
Yeah.
That is way more fantasy than scamming rich people.
Yeah, but
there is no actual magic in this movie.
That is correct.
It's all fake.
No,
100%.
That is correct.
So yes, fish fucking much higher than con artist. I must disagree with you, sir.
It's just a fish man walking around. That's all it is.
Fucking.
Take the fucking out.
And eating cats. Take the fucking elephant. Don't throw that at me, sir. How dare you?
All I'm saying is, remove the fish man, insert regular man. It's the same movie.
So remove the fantastical element of the film, and suddenly it's no longer fantasy. Go figure.
You know where I'm going with it.
Hey, I'm standing up for the people who were disappointed by the film. I understand why they were. But they really thought it was going to be more spooky. They thought they wanted a real spooky.
Well, it's got the word nightmare in it, so I mean, I think that throws people off. But I mean, Guillermo wanted to stay true to the source material, and that movie had the same title. So
Not Guillermo.
No. I'm saying that's why it has the word nightmare, is because the original film had nightmare.
Bird is the word.
Bird. The bird is the word. All I'm saying is, if they were expecting Pan's Labyrinth, the trailers and anything you might have, even little blurbs, really show that it isn't going to be that movie.
Well, it's like if you never saw a trailer, but you heard Michael Bay has a new film called Transformers, you're like, great, and you go there and the whole thing's about electrical engineers. What the fuck is this? I understand that.
Transformers.
Not everybody researches films. They just they hear a director they like or an actor they like in a film name, like, oh, that sounds good.
Listen, the best rule of thumb I can give to anyone is go in blind.
Yeah.
Just stop watching trailers. Just go in blind.
You gotta have adventure in your heart.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I will watch the occasional trailer here and there. I did watch the trailer for the Batman. It's not something I'm going to avoid. I need to see at least a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit. But I stopped watching any kind of trailer or content. Although you can't avoid it now. It's on every fucking channel because it's coming out next weekend.
We are over time, sir.
We are. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Yeah. During our Oscar nominees, we just reviewed Nightmare Alley. Thank you for hanging out with us while we did that. Go to our website at Moviesucktastic.com. Listen or download the show there. You can also go to iTunes and do a search for Moviesucktastic. Get the show there as well. Go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic. If you want to leave us email, the address is themovieguys@Moviesucktastic.com. If you want to call us and leave us voicemail, the number is 908-514-4470. You can download the Android app for your Android device, tablet, phone, whatever you're using. Go to moviesucktastic.com/mst.apk or download your favorite podcast player and just do a search for us, Moviesucktastic, and we come right up. Do you have any words of wisdom, Mr. Wilson?
Bradley Cooper's penis.
You sound like you're the only one disappointed.
For your consideration.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
They should have a best penis category.
Well, we did the whole full frontal male nudity episode.
No, I mean the Oscars.
Oh. Would that fall under the People's Choice Award that the Oscars are doing now?
I don't want people choosing the penis.
All right. Bye.